There is an entire genre of videos engineered to make you feel like a bad dog owner. 10 things your dog will never forgive. The mistakes that make your dog think you don't love them. A sad-eyed dog, a list of 10, and almost none of it comes with a single source you could check. So I did the one thing the genre never does. I checked all of it. And here's the first thing that came back. In a High-in Lermuichin study, the long-term stress hormone in a dog's hair tracked the stress hormone in its owner's hair across 58 pairs. That one finding reframes this whole conversation. So I'm going to give you the version with actual evidence behind it, the real list of habits that shape whether your dog feels safe with you, every one of them tied to a study you could look up. And one famous mistake on every single one of these lists turns out to be more myth than fact. I'll show you which one and why almost everyone repeats it wrong. So before you feel guilty about one more thing, let me give some of that guilt back. Let's be clear about what's really going on. The problem was never that you don't love your dog. If you're the kind of person who watches a video like this, that question is already settled. The problem is that love isn't the variable. Your dog can't read your intentions. What it can read, what its body literally records, are your habits. So let's stop talking about love, which we can't measure, and start with the habits we can. Mod. Start with the one the evidence is clearest on, how you correct your dog. In High-in Lermuichin, Ana Catarina Vieira de Castro and colleagues at the University of Porto published a study in PLOS ONE following 92 companion dogs across 7 training schools, some reward-based, some using aversive methods. The leash pops, the scolding, the corrections. The dogs trained with aversive methods showed more stress behaviors during training, higher cortisol afterward, and here's the part that lingers. In a follow-up test, they were measurably more pessimistic. Given an ambiguous situation, they expected the worse outcome. So harsh correction doesn't just sting in the moment. It can tilt the way your dog reads the whole world. That's not a dog that thinks you don't love it. That's a nervous system being taught that bad things are likely. Hi. Now the finding I opened with because it deserves the full story. In High-in Lermuichin, Sundman and colleagues at Linköping University in Sweden published in scientific reports on 58 dog and owner pairs, border collies and Shetland sheepdogs. They didn't measure a single stressful moment. They measured cortisol stored in hair, which reflects stress over months, and the dog's long-term stress levels were synchronized with their owners. The more chronically stressed the owner, the more chronically stressed the dog written into the dog's body over time. Read that again. Your dog isn't just keeping you company through your hard year. On some level, it's metabolizing it with you, which means one of the most underrated things you can do for your dog has nothing to do with the dog at all. It's managing your own stress. And your dog is watching your state more closely than you think. In High-in Lermuichin, Kees and colleagues at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest, in Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience, used eye-tracking 31 dogs in one study, 46 in another, and found dogs systematically read the informative parts of a human face, lingering on the regions that tell them how you feel, with their attention to angry versus happy faces shifting under oxytocin. So the cold shoulder, the sharp tone, the tense silence after a bad day, it doesn't go over your dog's head. It lands. Born. Here's a related one, and it's about your voice. We tend to think dogs only catch our tone, that they don't really hear the words. In High-in Lermuichin, Attila Andix and colleagues, also at Eötvös Loránd University, published in Science, a brain imaging study of 13 dogs trained to lie still and awake in an MRI scanner. They found something almost no one expected. A dog's brain handles the words and the tone on 2 different sides. Meaningful praise words registered in the left hemisphere, no matter how they were said. The intonation was processed separately on the right, and the brain's reward center fully lit up only when the 2 matched a praise word delivered in a praising tone. So good boy muttered flatly, or a warm tone wrapped around a frustrated sentence, doesn't land the way you'd hope. Your dog is doing more decoding than you give it credit for, and it notices when your words and your tone disagree. Numb. Now one of the gentlest findings in this whole field. In High-in Lermuichin, Takafumi Kikusui's team published in Science what's often called the oxytocin gaze loop. When a dog and its owner simply held each other's gaze, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, rose in both of them. The dog's gaze lifted the owner's oxytocin, which lifted the owner's warmth, which lifted the dog's oxytocin right back. A loop. And when the researchers gave dogs a little extra oxytocin, the dogs gazed at their owners more, which raised the owner's oxytocin too. Hand-raised wolves didn't do this. So those quiet moments when your dog finds your eyes and just holds them, that isn't nothing. That's the bond, running in real time. The mistake here isn't dramatic. It's being too busy, too often, to ever meet it. Sow. There's also a word for what you are to your dog, and the science is surprisingly literal about it: a secure base. In Hängen Lärmöba, Lisa Horn and colleagues at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna published in PLOS ONE a study of 20 dogs working at a food puzzle. The dogs tried harder and stayed with the problem longer when their owner was present and encouraging than when the owner was absent or when a stranger sat in the owner's place. The owner wasn't solving anything. Their presence alone changed what the dog was willing to attempt. It's the same secure base effect we see in young children, braver when the person they trust is close. So being there calm, present, on their side, isn't a small thing. It's the platform your dog stands on to face everything else. The seventh one is quieter, and it's about boredom. Across population surveys of dog behavior, including work by Bennett and Rolfe, with more than 400 owners, too little exercise and too little enrichment show up again and again as risk factors for behavior problems. A dog with nothing to do doesn't decide you don't love it, it just has an understimulated brain with nowhere to put itself, and that comes out as the chewing, the barking, the restlessness owners then get frustrated by. The unmet need and the misbehavior are the same thing wearing two faces. Tam. Here's one the guilt-bait versions blow out of proportion, but that does have a real signal in it: how long you leave your dog alone. In a Hängen Lärmöba study in applied animal behavior science, Therese Rain and Linda Keeling found that the longer dogs were left by themselves, the more intense their greeting when the owner came back, more contact-seeking, more activity. That isn't proof your dog is heartbroken at hour 3, but it's a measurable sign that the time apart registers. Not a reason for guilt, just a reason, when you can, to make the long stretches a little shorter and the returns a little calmer. Cheen. And here's one that'll make you feel better about something you probably already do. That higher, sing-song voice people slip into with dogs. Who's a good boy? It isn't silly. In Hängen Lärmöba, Alex Benjamin and Katie Slocombe at the University of York tested it in animal cognition, first with 37 dogs, then 32 more. Dogs paid more attention to, and chose to stay near, a person using dog-directed speech, but only when that sing-song delivery came with dog-relevant words. Baby talk about your taxes did nothing. The combination was what worked. So talking to your dog like that isn't a guilty habit. It's a channel your dog is tuned to. Using it is closer to speaking their language than you realized. Moi the myth. Now the one I promised you. You've probably seen the claim that dogs hate being hugged, often with a confident statistic. Something like 81% of hugged dogs show stress. That number traces back to an analysis of 250 photographs by Stanley Coren. It's a useful caution, but it was a photo review, not a controlled, peer-reviewed welfare experiment, and it gets repeated as if it were hard science. So here's the honest version. Many dogs do show stress signals when hugged, especially when they're held so they can't move away, but all dogs hate hugs is too strong for the evidence. Your dog is an individual. Watch it. Don't obey a meme. That distinction between what's proven and what's just repeated is the whole reason this channel exists. So pull back and look at the through line. None of this is a grading sheet on whether you love your dog. What it shows is something stranger and more intimate. Your dog is continuously absorbing your state. Your corrections, your stress, your face, your voice, your eyes, your calm. It is co-regulating with you, whether either of you meant to start. Which means the single most loving thing you can offer isn't a grand gesture or an expensive toy. It's a steadier nervous system for your dog to borrow. If you want the changes with the most evidence behind them, here they are. First, drop the harsh corrections, reward what you want instead. The research is one-sided on this one. Second, take your own stress seriously, because your dog is quietly carrying a share of it. Third, give your dog real enrichment, a sniff walk, a puzzle, a job, not just a lap around the same block. Fourth, use the small bonding channels you already have. Meet its eyes, talk to it in that warm voice, be the calm presence it can lean on, and learn to read the early stress signals everyone misses. The quick lip lick, the half moon of white in the eye, the head turning away. That's your dog telling you, in the only language it has, this is a little much. Listening to that is worth more than any apology. Here's where the guilt finally turns into something better. Your dog decided you were its person a long time ago that was never in question. The real question was never whether you love it. It's whether you'll give it the thing it's been mirroring back to you this whole time. Calm. You don't owe your dog perfection. You owe it your attention, and a slightly steadier version of you. That's not a mistake to fix. That's just the next thing to practice. So here's my question, and there's genuinely no wrong answer. When you picture your own dog under a little stress, which signal comes to mind first? The quick lip lick, the look away, or that half moon of white in the eye? Tell me that one signal in the comments, in just a few words. I read them, and they decide what I dig into next. If you want the kind of dog content that shows you the actual study, instead of just handing you the feeling, subscribe to Pet Mind Labs because that's the whole promise here. You stop guessing, and you start seeing what your dog is really telling you. And next on Pet Mind Labs, I'm taking everything we just covered and going deeper, reading a dog's face signal by signal so you can tell calm from stress in real time the moment it happens. That's the one you don't want to miss. I'll see you there.